Hello everyone, this is Dr Afaf Mougou with you. I am specialized in cognitive linguistics applied to holy books, and my channel, New Religion, is for your personal and your business growth based on religious values. In this video, I will explain to you a very important concept, which is categorization. It's a very important concept in the field of cognitive linguistics and in other fields as well that are related to this domain. I will do this by mentioning or by reading from the preface of a very important book, which is Women, Fire and Dangerous Things, written by George Lakoff. And it's very much useful book. The subtitle is What Categories Reveal About the Mind. So I will read from the preface and I will explain. It's a very heavy book. Huh? So, George Lakoff says, cognitive science is a new field that brings together what is known about the mind from many academic disciplines, psychology, linguistics, anthropology, philosophy, and computer science. So here, George Lakoff is defining cognitive science, and cognitive science is a very important field of research, new field of research. It's a revolution, as we will notice when George Lakoff will speak of this big shift. The new field, cognitive science, encompasses many academic disciplines. It's not related only to linguistics. So, cognitive science, it's related to psychology. You know Eleanor Roche in psychology. So Eleanor Roche, she's a pioneer of cognitive psychology. So linguistics, anthropology, philosophy, and computer science. All these fields are connected to each other, and they knew shift, a paradigm shift in their conception, in their evolution with the cognitive science, with the renewal of their perspective. It seeks detailed answers to such questions as, so what is cognitive science? He says, it seeks detailed answers to such questions as, what is reason? What is reason? How do we make sense of our experience? Huh? What is a conceptual system and how is it organized? Wow, it's very important questions. Do all people use the same conceptual system? If so, what is this system? If not, exactly what is there that is common to the way all human beings think? The questions aren't new, but some recent answers are. So these questions aren't new, actually. From the philosophical area of Aristotle and, Aristotle and Plato, these questions were asked by human beings. But there are the good news that there are new answers to these questions. Who are we? What is reason? How do we think? How do we perceive our world? Is there any difference between people in Japan, for example, the way they think, and in America and in Australia and in Tunisia, Africa, Europe, London, England. Is there any difference between a language and another language? If there is, what is it? If there isn't, how can we find a conceptual system, a common conceptual system? Can we find it? So there are new answers. He says, this book is about the traditional answers to these questions and about recent research that suggests new answers. So this book, it's heavy because it has in it both answers, traditional ones and new ones. It's a very useful book. I love it. On the traditional view, reason is abstract and disembodied. On the new view, reason has a bodily basis. So it's very important here to understand the new way of thinking about categories. We have two views, two categories, two ways of categorization. Do you know what is categorization? Categorization is the way, the process, the intellectual process of categorizing things in the world, concepts in the world. For example, a chair. How do we conceive a chair? The concept of a chair, what is it? It has, for example, it's for sitting, it's from wood, etc. There are some traits, some features of the chair that that are components of its concept. And on basis of this concept, you can, for example, say, this is a chair. This is not a chair, it's a table. So categorization is very important for us as human beings. So the categorization, there is a traditional way, as Lakoff says, traditional way and a new way of categorization. What did he say? He said, on the traditional view, reason is abstract and disembodied. So when we say reason, it's used to categorize, as he will say this. I mentioned this later on. So traditional way is abstract and disembodied. The traditional way of thinking, it's abstract and disembodied. And he said, on the new view, reason has a bodily basis. So here, in the new view, reason is embodied. Embodied. It's very important to know this, you know. Disembodied. What does it mean that reason is disembodied and abstract? It means that in the traditional view, we conceive concepts as domains of thoughts that are abstract, that are in another world than our physical world. They are not embodied in our physical world, in our experience. That's why they are disembodied and abstract. They are like abstract, something that are not cannot be seen, as Aristotle says about categorization and categories. The new way is embodied. The categories are embodied in our experience. When we say, for example, the concept of love, it's embodied, you know. For example, love is a journey. You conceive love as a journey. For example, we are in the beginning of our relationship. When you say this, it means that you embody the concept of love with this sentence in your experience, as if it were a journey, you know, as if it were a journey, as if you are a journeyer. We are in the beginning of our relationship. We have some hardships. Our road is long. Our way is long. Our way is beautiful. For example, we have a common aim in life, etc. The traditional view sees reason as literal, as primarily about propositions that can be objectively either true or false. The traditional view sees categories as literal. They are not embodied, it's not embodied in our language. For example, when I say we start our relationship, here, when we say the concept of love is embodied, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor that we live by. Whereas when in the literal meaning, in the traditional view, love is literal, you know. Love is something, a concept that is abstract. It's not embodied in our experience. So it's literal. Literal as primary about propositions that can be objectively either true or false. So the criteria is the reality, is the external word to say this, for example, sentence is true or false. The criteria is the reality, the external word. It's like the truth condition model, you know. To say something is true or false. For example, someone came, my friend came. This can be true or false based on the reality. Did he come or not in the reality? The new view takes imaginative aspects of reason, metaphor, metonymy, and mental imagery as central to reason rather than as a peripheral and inconsequential adjunct to the literal. So the new view, it's not literal, it's metaphorical. Now, in the new view of categories, metaphor and metonymy and imagery, imagination is capital to categorize concepts. For example, love. When we say we are in the beginning of our relationship, our way is long together. All these are metaphors, and the category of love is conceived through this way, this metaphorical projection between domains, the domain of love and the domain of journey. The traditional account claims that the capacity for meaningful thought and for reason is abstract and not necessarily embodied in any organism. So this is it. The traditional account claims that thought is abstract. It's something abstract, as I explained. Thus, meaningful concepts and rationality are transcendental in the sense that they transcend or go beyond the physical limitations of any organism. So the concepts and categories in the traditional view are transcendental. In another word, it's not in our physical world. Thus, yes, meaningful concepts and abstract reason may happen to be embodied in human beings or in machines or in other organisms, but they exist abstractly, independent of any particular embodiment. This is in the traditional view. It may happen that some concepts are embodied in machines or in human beings, but in their essence, they exist in another world. They are disembodied. In the new view now, that cognitive science adopts, and George Lakoff adopts. In the new view, meaning is a matter of what is meaningful to thinking, functioning beings. So, meaning, it's not outside the person who conceives the word, of the person who constructs the meaning. The nature of the thinking organism and the way it functions in its environment are of central concern to the study of reason. So if we want to study reason and categorization, studying the nature of thinking is central. That's why neurology is very important, and cognitive psychology is very important, and the study of the mind is very important to approach our language and to approach the new way of categorization. To study language, we got to study thought, because they aren't separate. Both views take categorization as the main way that we make sense of experience. This is it. This is what I said. Categorization is very important to make sense of the world, you know. Anything that you perceive and conceive, how did you perceive and conceive it? Through categorization. So categorization is very important. It's a central issue. Categories on the traditional view are categorized solely by the properties shared by their members. So in the traditional new view, the categories are disembodied. So how do we categorize things? By the common features, as I said. For example, a bird. A bird, for example, he has wings. For example, you know, it flies, etc. These features, you know. But an eagle is a bird. Huh? And the chicken is a bird. Are they in the same level? No. That's why the new view of categorization is prototypical, is based on our experience. As I will mention, as Lakoff will mention. So categories on the traditional view are categorized solely by the properties shared by their members. That is, they are characterized independently of the bodily nature of the being doing the categorization, and B, literally, with no imaginative mechanisms, metaphor, metonymy, and imagery, entering into the nature of categories. So, as I said, in the traditional way, the categories are independent of the body that experience the world, of the mind, of your mind. And they are independent of our